So welcome back to the next Storware Academy. Today I will discuss how the vProtect can handle and help Nutanix Acropolis achieve the data protection capabilities with the additional features like snapshot management, backup and recovery, application backup, and more. So let's go deep dive and in the next 20 minutes discuss this topic. So first of all, we need to remind what the vProtect stands for and what we are doing as a vendor. So we are capable of protecting multiple hypervisors, not only the Nutanix Acropolis or the Hyper-V and the VMware. So it depends which flavor Nutanix has used behind the scene as a virtualization engine, we can protect it. But you can see also the quite huge range of the other hypervisors that we can support with. So let's discuss the 6 major features that we are introducing for the Nutanix Acropolis and the Nutanix platforms itself. So first one is the VM level, container level, agentless, full and incremental backup. In the Nutanix, we are supporting the CRT feature, so it means that we can handle the full backups and only sending the change block tracking, so change region tracking. So here we just send in the incrementals, so the blocks that actually changed since the last one. Next part is quite significant, snapshot management. So we helping the Nutanix customers to achieve the snapshot management capabilities. So it can be a brilliant add-on to your existing backup policy. So you can imagine in a daily basis we are doing a snapshots. Later on during a backup window, during the night, we are doing the backups. We need to keep in mind that we shouldn't build many of the snapshots because it can be quite harmful for the VMs itself. But let's say the short length snapshot management, it can be a brilliant opportunity for all of the admins to make it. Application backup, we have our own generic way how to do it, so we can go inside the VM and ingest some backups. And more important part, vProtect with the Nutanix and from the other hypervisors can work in 2 different modes. One is the fully independent, we can be a fully independent backup vendor, or we can be a proxy VM for the other players in a backup and recovery area such as Dell EMC, IBM, or the Veritas. So here you can actually have a choice if you would like to build the independent island with us, or we can be as one of the add-ons. And one of my favorites is the open RESTful API. So it means that everything what you will see from the management point of view or from the orchestration point of view, you can integrate with the third-party platforms. So it can be your portal or it can be some managed service providers portal for the easier management and orchestration. High-level architecture here. On the left, of course, we are interested in the Nutanix Acropolis, but as I mentioned, you have more than other sources, workloads that we can are able to protect. On the right, this is what we call freedom of choice. You can start sending your data into the file system. In most cases, we are using the, for example, data domain integration, or we're using the virtual data optimizer. So we have our own capability to encrypt, compress, and dedupe the data on a target. But you can also choose the object storage or one of the cloud providers or the object storage gateway itself if you have on-prem installation to store in your backups. Or you can go into the, we call it enterprise backup providers. This is what I said, this is the proxy VM method that we are ingesting the data into the other backup vendors players. Let's fully concentrate on the Nutanix. So here you can see that first of all, what you need is that the vProtect node itself must be installed as one of the VMs on a cluster. So in this case, if you have 3 clusters, you will need the 3 at least nodes installed on the clusters and 1 server to manage it, to control it, the data, and all of the nodes will send in the data to the specific backup target. We can scale up or scale up. Scale up means that we are adding the additional resources to each node And scale out, we are adding the multiple nodes to have an option to protect more VMs or more workloads, depends how big these VMs are. Going much more deep dive, you can see that this node actually are connecting to the specific hypervisors. You can see the ref KVM, but it's of course coming back. It's all about the Nutanix here. But to explain what node is responsible for and what the server it does, this picture will fully describe the responsibility. So let's start with the node. So the node is taking the data from the different sources. It can be VMs. So on the Nutanix it will be VM. So we take in this data, and in a green line you can see we need to put this data on the staging space. So this space will be allocated of one of our VM that actually is installed on the Nutanix cluster, and we send in later on the data to the specific backup provider. Like I said, it can be object storage, file system, or the other players. The server itself keeping all of the metadata. So it means that node is actually the stateless, working in a stateless mode. It means that if you lose your node, you can just need to install new one, register to the server, and you won't losing anything from your backup history. So all of the catalog and metadata is kept on our internal database on a server side. We're using the MariaDB to store in all of the data. And you can see that the server, it's more about the blue lines, so it's more about the management part. So sending and orchestrate the other nodes, saying you need to do this job, you need to protect this Nutanix cluster, you need to protect this particular VM working on the Acropolis or the VMware on a Hyper-V. Let's talk about the strategy that which we chose with the Nutanix. We chose the disk attachment, so it means that, like I said, that the node needs to be installed on the cluster itself, but later on we just need to attach the snapshot VM, the snapshot disk, to the node and send this information to the backup destination that we are providing and supporting. Pros, of course, we're using the latest API, so version 3. There is no need to additional cloning required in this strategy, and we supporting the disk exclusion. So you don't need to always protect your whole VM. You just need to grab and attach the VM that are important for you. Now, last thing before I will go to the live demo is to fully understand the feature set that we have it. So like I mentioned before, we supporting the change region tracking, so CRT. It's CBT actually, but Nutanix called CRT. So we send in only after first full backup the change blocks. We're using the native Nutanix API, and of course we are certified in the Nutanix. We have option to individual file restore files. So after the full or incremental backup, we have an option to grab and restore only the specific individual file. We can exclude the disk, and we are application consistent backup. So if you're using the tools, VM tools on Nutanix, we are actually can inform the application inside that, hey, there is a snapshot going on here, or we can use a pre and post snapshot feature that we are also introducing. And this is what I really like here is, I said, freedom of choice. So you can have the option to use the disk, the object storage, or the other vendors. And we are automating assigning from your virtual environments, virtual machines, into the policy based of the naming or based of the tags that we are assigning. I will explain you in the live demo. So finally, you need to be aware that we are certified and we are in a data protection for AHV based VMs book. We introduced, and the first version of our data protection for the Nutanix was released actually more than 2 years ago. So we are happy to have a journey with the Nutanix, and any new version of the AOS is supported by us and certified with the Nutanix team. So we are ready to see our live demo right now. So let's move on and see how it works in my demo environment. So what I need to do is right now go to the vProtect login page. So I will log in as administrator here. So first what I need to do is to find where can I actually add my Nutanix hypervisors. So I need to go to the hypervisor tab, hypervisors managers, add hypervisor manager, and I need to choose the Nutanix Prism element. So here it's important to put the properly URL with the credentials, such as username and the password, of course. And we are choosing which node actually will be gathering this data from the Nutanix cluster. So you can see on my demo there is a local, but there is also vPro Prism node. So this node is actually installed on the Nutanix cluster. So if I will come back, you will find my cluster. Yes, it's here, and it's attached to the vPro Prism. First, what I will do is just always the first option after adding your hypervisor, so your cluster, is to synchronize the information from the cluster. So that's why I click inventory synchronization. I should have a new task that I send it via API to the Nutanix cluster. So it will collect all of the changes information about the specific VMs on this Nutanix cluster. So let's wait. It should be last roughly about 20-30 seconds, not more. Yeah, we got it. So after this, we can easily find every information about, let's grab the hypervisors, Nutanix Prism. So you can see there is 4 VMs actually that were gathered from the synchronization inventory task. There's one machine that's actually on my Nutanix today. So I will log in to the Prism. Previous machines I just deleted. So let's go to the VM. Yes, so we have a VM CentOS 01. So you can see it's actually this machine. Inside you can see the story and the previous task where the data actually have been stored. You can see the data domain, so we can have a different backup destination where we can actually store your data. So in our case, our VM CentOS 01 is storing in the data domain. There is some history about the backups. There is also history about the restoration. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, depends on my demo. There is a snapshots information. The disk, here you can exclude your disk. There is a schedules assigned to this machine, and information to which policy this machine is actually assigned. Policy always saying you what schedules and when. So schedules saying when you should protect your data and where you should store your specific data. So I will do a backup. I would choose the incremental, and I will send this data to the Prism Data Domain Boost, FS. Okay, so what's going on here is that we send the information to the Nutanix saying, hey, give me only the change block, so the CRT mode. Just give me the change block and send this block to the node first. So this is the first task, export. So export means give me this data to the specific node. After export, there will be the second task called store. Store will means send this data to the specific backup destination that I already chose in a task. I mentioned about the policy. So in the meantime, I will show you the policies. So you have 4 types of the policies. The first one, the most used one, is the virtual environments backup. So you can see we have a Nutanix already prepared the policy. Here you can create the auto assign. So based of the naming, based of the tags, you can assign the specific VM that will be automatically attached to this policy. And this is what I said before. Here you can choose the VMs, like 300 VMs here. and based of the rule you can assign where you should store this data and when on which specific schedules you should be applied and automate in a daily basis your data protection. Where you storing the information about the retention? The retention in a vProtect is always managed and kept in a specific backup destination. So when I send the data to the data domain, I need to go to the data domain itself, Prism data domain, and see what's actually the retention period are attached to this specific backup destination. Okay, let's see if my job was done. Yes, thank you. We have a incremental stored. Let's right now go to this VM and put the restoration. Restore, choose the specific snapshots. So I will, let's say, take the full from actually a week ago, and I'm choosing where it should go. So coming back to the Nutanix, I don't want to delete, but I would like to specify a new name for it, CentOS Storware Academy R1, so restoration first. So I just saying restore this task. You can see that right now we attach the backup destination saying let's bring back this data from the specific point in time and ingest this data to the node, and the node itself will first create a VM, then will copy the data again to the Acropolis hypervisor. So let's wait a minute, you will see the results. In the meantime, I just want to emphasize that I mentioned you before about the mounted backups feature, individual file restoration. It means that when you are inside the VM, you have the option to backup, restore, but also mount. Mount means that you can take the specific snapshots, you can take them and you can mount this disk into the 3 different modes. First one is the automatically way. So we send in this specific VM or the disk, and we can have the option to mount it. Let's see the result. So you can go inside the specific VM, and you can later on, tutaj stop, pokażę inną. So you can, niech się włączy błąd. So you can go to the specific mounted VM. I will choose a different one. We don't have enough time to show, but just to imagine and represent how it works after you collect and properly mount it. So you go inside, you can easily browse, and depends what type of the file system you have. We have our own libraries that we are reading from the file system, so you can go grab the specific format or files and download it directly via our management to the administrator. Or there is an option to share this specific disk over iSCSI to the different host. There is a really good option here. Many of the administrators using this option to actually mount it disk to this other host to just collect or grab the specific files. Okay, so you can see that the import is restore import. So restore means we took this data into the node, and the restore giving us the option. Okay, coming back to our restoration process, you can see that we already took the data into the node. Right now the node created the machine and a copy and ingesting this data into the Nutanix Acropolis. How it looks like on the Nutanix? Yes, we can see that this machine is already created. Right now we need to wait that the import task will finalize, then we'll be able to power on this machine with the full functionality from the specific point in time. So thank you for watching the Storware Academy. You have seen that the vProtect itself has a capability to protect the Nutanix Acropolis, Nutanix with the VMware, or the Nutanix with the Hyper-V behind the scenes hypervisors. with the full and incremental feature set using the CRT for the Acropolis, with the freedom of choice philosophy, so choosing where we can store this data on a file system or any NFS or CIFS files, SMB file sharing, object storage or the other backup vendors. And you've seen how the policy works, how you can assign the specific VM to the policy, and how you can restore the data or grab individual file from the protected virtual machine based off the mounted backups feature. So thank you for watching Storware Academy. If you will have more questions regarding the Acropolis, so Nutanix AHV functionality or the feature sets that we'll introduce today or in the near future, do not hesitate and contact us via the social media or directly through our webpage. Thank you.